Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here and welcome to another video. As you guys can tell by the title, this video is going to be about my visit to the EA studios in Vancouver in regards to inconsistent gameplay. Some of you guys are confused, right? Because some of you guys know that I was head and toes and body parts and soul that I was never going to go to the studios again. Because of my last two visits, how they were a complete colossal waste of time, right? And every time I brought up inconsistent gameplay, I was kind of like shut down or just completely ignored. And then the second time I went there, the gameplay wasn't up to par for us to even test. And there was like a lot of different things, and there was a lot of wasted time. And all that stuff. But I don't like to think too much about the past because I want to think about right now for my trip. I just want to explain to you guys what it was like before, because I'm not under an NDA to not say whatever I want. The only NDA stuff I'm not allowed to say is stuff that I know about FIFA 20, which, to be honest, they told me nothing about. This is me being completely honest and transparent with you guys. They didn't tell me about the gameplay content, which I really tried to screw them off a little bit with. You know, I was trying to I'm like, come on, just tell what your gameplay content is at least, you know. But they didn't budge. They're gonna wait until that exact time because my sole purpose of going to the studios this time was for inconsistent gameplay, right? So this is how exactly it worked, right? I was chilling at home, and then Zaro messaged me, and Zaro said, hey, long story short, we want to bring you out to the studios again. And right away from my last two visits, I was like, I'm not going, because even if it's to test out FIFA 20, I'll just wait until it comes out. You know what I mean? Because my whole thing is the inconsistent gameplay. So I was like, you know what? Let me see what he wants me to do to go there, right? So I got into a call with Zaro, Corey, and Joel. Mostly Joel. It was Joel and Zaro. And I was talking to them, and they were letting me know that the sole purpose of you coming to the studios is to work on inconsistent gameplay. And I asked the question, I'm like, am I going to be testing inconsistent gameplay on FIFA 20 or am I going to test it on FIFA 19? And he's like, FIFA 19. I'm like, good, great. I don't care about trying FIFA 20 because the thing about FIFA, right, and this is something I've explained since if you guys are new to my channel, is that FIFA 15, FIFA 16, FIFA 17, if your gameplay was good, right, because there's different brackets of bad and good gameplay, right? There's different like variables to consider for each one, right? There's a middle ground and then there's like each side, right? So for FIFA 15, 16, and 17, good gameplay was actually fun in those games, right? It was more like 18 and 19 where, and mostly 19, where 19 is the official first one that even if your gameplay is good, the game itself still sucks. And I let them know that too. That's exactly how I felt with FIFA 19. I don't like the way that the mechanics are, but that's for FIFA 19. They're going to be focusing on nerfing those things for FIFA 20. But my whole thing is inconsistent gameplay, because when people told me their opinions on, like, if I ask someone like, what was your favorite FIFA gameplay wise, and then they'll tell me like FIFA 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever it is, right? I never took that opinion seriously because the gameplay was still inconsistent during those times. So when they told me which FIFAs they like, I always asked them this question. I'm like, which gameplay did you like in those FIFAs, right? Because FIFA 15 was also inconsistent, 16, and I made videos in the past for those games too, right? So when I talk about FIFAs, for me, I haven't liked the last like 6 or so years because every game has been inconsistent, but there are games that when the gameplay was good, the game was fun. So that's why I didn't really care too much about trying FIFA 20, because if they change the infrastructure of what affects bad and good gameplay for FIFA 19, right? And I was asking them this, it would transfer over to future FIFAs. So if FIFA 20 is just a good game with good mechanics and stuff, then cool, I can learn it with consistently good gameplay. So the main focus of me going there was for inconsistent gameplay. And to be honest with you guys, this is exactly what I wanted to do the first 2 times that I went there, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I used to make those videos and I used to talk to those guys from before, right? And it's exactly what I did there, right? So I'll let you guys know what the thing was like. So the accommodations were beautiful. They actually accommodated me for my second time where they didn't accommodate me at all, and they did that through my stipend the third time. So I actually really do appreciate that. A really, really cool gesture for the second time, right? Again, I'm not under NDA. If I don't like EA, I'll tell them whatever. I can say whatever I want. This is freedom of speech. I'm not a shill to EA as a company. I go there because I care about the game being better, right? So with inconsistent gameplay, on the first day, I got to the hotel and I was just chilling, right? Because it was on the Sunday. I got there, it's like a 3-hour difference from Vancouver and Toronto, so it was like, I got there, it was like 5 o'clock there or 6 o'clock there, and then I go to sleep at like 8 because of the time difference. Like I'll go to sleep like at 11 here, and then it's like 8 over there, and then I'll wake up at like 5 or 6 in the morning and then do whatever, right? So that's what I did on the first day. The second day, and I'm allowed to talk to you guys about this, right? That's when we started working on the inconsistent gameplay. So what happened on the first day, right, is that we went into this room, right? And in this room, they already had pre-built setups for the gameplay, right? So what they would do is there was like 2 different parts of the room, right? So there's the left part of the room that is the same as the right part, like in terms of monitors and consoles and all that stuff, but it was the right stuff. It was the right side where we gave a blind test opinion, and then on the left side, that's where we actually played the game, right? So initially, this is exactly how it started, right? So as you guys know, with inconsistent gameplay, I can tell if it's bad or good in the first 5 seconds, right? So when they asked me, because you guys know that gameplay server they have in the game where it's like you have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in terms of how the game felt, right? That's what your opinion would have been based on in regards to the sheet that they gave you, right? So when I was there and I was testing out the gameplay, I was comparing it to my best experience at home, right? Because my experience at home isn't very good, right? So there was like different variables to consider. So they would start off with the first game and then be like, okay, this is the current setup of the game, right? This is how the game actually is right now. So I played it and it's like, yeah, this feels pretty generic. The controls, however, felt better at the EA Studios than they did when I play at home, right? The controls of it, and even the speed was like okay from the regular gameplay. And I promise you guys when I say this is not being a shield, not being in my head, because you guys know that I know the difference instantly, right? The gameplays were different every time we tested it, right? Because what happened was the first time we did it was the regular build, and then that's when they started doing the blind test. So they'll throw in the regular build, another build, the regular build, another build, but they'll do it in the order that they choose, right? So what happened was the second game, the third game, the fourth game, the fifth game, we kept playing. We would play one game, give our opinion on that game, like to the other side. We would go to the right side of the room, give our opinion on the game, and then go back to the left side. And then we would wait for them to change whatever it is that they had to change for us to try out that gameplay again, and then go back and say if it was good or bad. So this was my experience, right, of doing that. A lot of the games were bad, right? But it was nice because the difference is that this is exactly what I wanted to show them was I can actually show them the specific gameplay mechanics that change when the gameplay is bad. And they were actually able to see it. The main 3 guys that were with me there at the studios, because Corey's chilling in Toronto right now. He's going to be moving to Vancouver again soon. But I was chilling with Joel, Dunin, Zaro, and Bogdan, right? Bogdan's like a new associate of EA. He went there 6 months ago, but he watches my content. They watch my content. Zaro, Joel, right? And Bogdan and the rest of them, they understand where I come from gameplay. So I wasn't completely shut down every time I brought it up. The general feel of the game and whatever results doesn't influence what I feel about it, right? So like I said, we were playing on the monitors, and most of the gameplays were bad. And what happened was when we went to the right side, and I would jot down because it would tell you like, okay, this is a 3 or a 2 or a 1. If you gave it, so basically like a 1 or a 2 is gameplay that is better than the regular build, and then gameplay that is 4 and a 5 is bad. So I did a lot of 4s that didn't feel close to the 3s, and then there was a couple games where I had 5s where they were just downright really terrible. But these were gameplays that I've already experienced online, because again, there's different columns of bad and good, right? Where each one has their own little set things to make the gameplay bad and make the gameplay good. And then there was some point where we went on a break, and I was a little bit disappointed because I was telling them like, yo, I haven't gotten playable gameplay yet. They've all felt a certain way where it wasn't up to par yet. We went on our break, and then we came back, and I don't know if it was the first game of us coming back from the break or if it was a little bit afterwards, but I finally found my first game where I was like, you know what? This feels like a playable game, right? Now, for me, when I say that the game is playable, I mean that it is made to what it is intended to be. When, like, let's just say a gaming company were to release a game to you, right? You expect it to play regularly when you play it, right? And from my experience at home, this gameplay was playable, but it wasn't it was never good or great, but it was me comparing it to my experience at home. So when I gave the game if I gave the game a 3, it would be from my general experience or the experience of the first game that they gave us, right? So I kept explaining that to Dune and Zaro and all the other guys that were there too, that's how I do the test, right? So when we were testing out the gameplay, I finally got the 4, and I was like, okay, this is not good or great, but this is acceptable. This is the bare minimum that it needs to be for it to be good. And when they were next to me, I was showing them what was the bare minimums, right? The certain touches, the instant LT RT dribbling, the instant turns, the skill moves coming off, right? But it wasn't perfect or great, right? Those ones are like the ones where your one-to-one controls are absolutely fantastic, right? So we kept on trying different gameplays. We did that for the entire day, where there was some where I got good and bad and whatever, and they understood, right? When I was talking to them about the mechanics of the game, where like when it's bad, your player puts this like, he kind of like pushes his chest forward and he does like that emphasis, right? And it was great because they actually recorded what happens when the gameplay is bad, which is fantastic. They were actually doing that with the controller on their screen and everything. I would let them know, oh, this is what happened. And then the people next to me, they'd be like, oh, I can see it now. So it was really, really nice. It's exactly what I wanted to do, to show them the difference, right? The only thing that was disappointing for me on the first day was I never found great gameplay, right? I never found but the thing is, you have to understand is that like even in the regular FIFA that we play at home, the only possible way of getting great gameplay is getting lucky at nighttime, because sometimes it doesn't even change at nighttime, right? But when you do get that good gameplay at nighttime, that's when it's like, whoa, this game's incredible, right? So I let them know that as well. Like when I gave the game a 2, it was my comparison to home, but the 2 there is what the game should feel like online. It should feel like a playable game, right? And they had those, and it's good that I was able to tell them this is playable, right? So what happened afterwards is that after we tested out the gameplay, we gave our results. They came to the right side, right? And they would just ask me like, why do you think the gameplay is bad? And being able to tell them all the specifics, the way that the weight of the ball comes off from passing, the dribbling, the first touch, the not being able to touch and then go instantly, that type of stuff they were able to see. And that made me very happy, because that's what I've worked for so many years, is to show them that. But you guys need to understand that this gameplay issue is so advanced. There's so many different variables to consider of what can cause it, right? So I don't know how that works. I don't know how the coding works, but I know that it's like an internal thing with them that they have to like figure out to give you the best results, right? So they gave me certain gameplays that were good, bad, playable, and acceptable, right? Like if I were to get it online, it would be great, right? At the end of the session, they gave me a patch where they're like, this is like intended, right? This is what our intended patch was. And when I played that intended patch, I was like, this is playable, but it's not there yet. Because you guys know me, like when I get great or beautiful gameplay, that's what I strive for. I'm like, this is playable, but you want to give your players the great or the best. And in my experience playing at the studios, I never got those two gameplays, but they understand because they worked it to the point where it's still very playable. Because if you guys know what the gameplay, when you're at kickoff, right, and you have a player like Neymar or Rafa, you can tell your gameplay is instantly good or bad by the way that you are holding R trigger, holding R2, the dash button, and running right at the defender. And then it's the switching and then the transitioning left and right, right? They gave me a gameplay at the end where the gameplay was very playable, the speed was good, but the controls were a little bit off. I'm like, something doesn't feel right. It feels loose. That's the term that I gave them, and it was hard to explain because when your gameplay feels loose in regards to controls that are not one-to-one and how the game is reacting, it's still very playable, still fun to play, but it's not there yet, right? The way that I explained to them is that I'm not going to be able to show them through actual gameplay mechanics that are happening. I did show them what happens when the gameplay is bad with the whole emphasis touches, the weight of the ball being slower, the acceleration touch when you're not even holding the dash button, that like emphasis dribble that they do where they lose balance, they go on like their 1 foot or whatever, all that kind of stuff I mentioned to them, right? And And yeah, so I never got the good or great gameplay, but I got gameplay where it's like, if you were to push this patch out and I consistently got this gameplay, I would be okay with this, and I think the community would be okay with this too. But I really stressed to them that if they do anything in the future to introduce it into the game or whatever, like, I'm gonna still test it like a regular person. If it's bad, I'm gonna let them know it's bad. I've already told them that when I got home, I would have the controller connected to my computer so that I can show them, okay, this gameplay is bad, this gameplay is good, and then show them certain time frames of how to show when each one is good and bad, right? So it was really good because they actually understood me, because they play the game themselves, guys. And when they were seeing it, they were like, yeah, that happens too, that happens too. Because one of the guys that worked there, one of the dev dudes, his friends is like, the dude himself, he's actually a fan of my content, and his friends are fans of my content. And his friends, when they play FIFA, they experience the same thing that we do, right, guys, with the inconsistent gameplay. So knowing that this guy works at the EA Studios, they would tell him like, hey, you know, we want you to watch this kid's video, and it would be mine in regards to the gameplay. We want you to watch this guy's gameplay, or this guy's gameplay videos, because he knows what he's talking about in regards to what we want in the game consistently, right? So he was there with me all the time. I had 1v1 conversations with him in regards to the feel of the game when it's good and bad, and he understood. He understood, and I never had that the first 2 times. I was completely shut down, right? But he was understanding, and he wasn't just like nodding and being like, yeah, we're just gonna butter Inception up, you know, so that, you know, so that he could tell people the gameplay is good. Because guys, I'm gonna be honest, if they do anything like a test and they let me know like, hey, test to see if the gameplay is good or bad. If it's bad, I'm gonna tell them it's bad, right? I'm not a shill to the company. I'm gonna say exactly how I feel, right? So that was the first day of us trying out the different gameplays. The second day that we went there, this is the test that we did. We played offline FIFA, right? And I actually went to the studios earlier because I'm there to work, right? I'm not there to travel and do whatever. I'm there to work to fix this issue. So what happened was, as you guys know, it also affects the offline experience of the game too. I never got good or great gameplay offline. And it was great because in squad battles, that's where I was showing him the game mechanics that aren't good, right? And I was showing him, like, you see how Laurent Blanc's acting, how my players are acting, how they do the acceleration touches, and he was recording everything. And he's like, wow, yeah, I see that. Like, you know when you want to do, like, the small touch? Like, when the gameplay is good, you want to do that small touch to get the right angle to pass or to shoot. I would show them the hesitation animation that the player did when the gameplay was bad, that it did not register it, right? And it wasn't like an animation delay with the player. He just didn't do it at that exact time where I want to take that small touch. You can see the little hesitation, little glitch with his body to not do it. That happens a lot when the gameplay is bad. So it was in squad battles too, which is great because I show him, like, you know, it happens in the quote unquote offline as well, because you are connected to Ultimate Team. So I don't know how much relation it has to the online servers or whatever it is, right? But it was cool because we were playing the offline, and I was showing him. We went into kickoff. We were trying out the different game speeds, the different difficulties to see if that would be the issue or the thing to solve it. And we're testing out different variables, right? We're testing out different variables as to what can cause it, right? After that, what happened was Skill Shack, he's a Vancouver local. I think they only flew me out to the studios, and they brought Skill Shack, who's a Vancouver local, to test all the gameplay because he's there already, right? And then I was playing games with him. And the team that I use at home for Ultimate Team, you guys already know if you guys watch my videos, is the Philippe Anderson, the Willian, the Richarlison. I had to use those players again, right? So that I can test it to the best of its ability in regards to whether my gameplay was good or bad, right? Everyone else was using God Squads, and to be honest with you guys, man, I was holding my own, playing proper football, breaking down people's defense, because some of them were abusing the game mechanics to score the opportunities, but that's just FIFA 19, right? If you transfer over to FIFA 20 and the gameplay is actually really good and balanced in regards to those things not being overpowered, like, your boy's kind of saucy at the game. I was doing really well with that team, and they had full God Squads because these accounts at EA, they had all the players in the game. They had, like, the pro player cards too, like the light blue ones. So what I did is I created 2 different teams. The best way for me to test out the gameplay is to use my generic team that I use at home, and then I finally used the full meta team. And let me just tell you guys this right now, your boy is saucy with a freaking full meta team, bro. The positioning of the players, everything is crazy. But again, the bad thing is that I got playable gameplay with my regular team, but when I was testing it out with the full meta team, I still realized that the gameplay was bad with the full meta team because of the touches, the emphasis. When you're, when you have the ball with like a team of the year Mbappe and you're just running straight and you can feel him being pulled back. I showed the EA devs, I'm like, I want you guys just to look at how Mbappe is running straight. You can see that he's being pulled back. He's not running freely, right? When your player runs freely, you can tell the way that he accelerates, the way that he moves forward. And again, it's the way you can see, right? So the thing I always told him to look at is look at how your players accelerate from kickoff, stop and transition left and right while you're defending. If you can see that they're still sliding a little bit, it's because your commands are loose or the gameplay is a little bit loose. So it's not there yet, right? But commands can be acceptable enough and the game speed can be acceptable enough that even if it feels a little bit loose, it's still playable, right? So it was really, really good to be able to show them all those specific things that, even when the gameplay is good, I can show all those things. There was a game that I was using a full meta team against one of the EA devs, and I won 6-0. And the goals that I scored were really nice goals, right? Like breakdown opportunities, blah, blah, right? And after I was done, I knew that the gameplay wasn't there yet, even though I won 6-0, and I went to him and he asked me before I even asked him, he's like, so what did you think about the gameplay, right? And this is the same guy that has his friends and himself that know about this issue. He's like, what do you think about the gameplay? And I feel like this is why they trust me in regards to this stuff, right? Because I told them, like, it wasn't there yet because the game still felt loose. The controls were still off. And I explained to him that specific situation with Mbappe where I was running straight and he looked like he was being pulled back. And I was yelling because he was across. And I was telling him, you see how Mbappe's running right now? He's like, yeah, he looks like he's being pulled back. So it just made me so happy that they see it. And the thing that I want to tell you guys is that they are working on it now, okay? My frustrations was it was never being looked at over the years, but they were specifically doing tests this time, and that's why it made me very happy because that's exactly what I wanted to do all the times that I went there, right? So it was just really cool. We had this session where in the afternoon on the second day, we would have the controller on the screen, and if the gameplay was bad or good, we can show them the specifics, right? So the gameplay that they gave us, they gave us at the end, like I said, was the little bit of a loose gameplay, but still playable and enjoyable in some ways, right? And I told them, like, this gameplay feels loose. The controls are not natural enough. It doesn't feel like it's one-to-one just yet. Because when you play other video games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, when you're moving, it moves, right? And you don't feel like you're sliding. You don't feel like they're moving somewhere else before they do the other thing, right? Like you don't feel like you have to control a ship. This last gameplay that we had, it felt like you were controlling a ship, but not as bad as like the gameplay that I get when I'm at home, right? But there it was like a little bit, a really tiny amount. And the way that you test it is that when I say steering the ship, it's kind of like when you're using the left stick, you have to kind of control the animation of the player rather than like, okay, I'm going to go right and then left and then right and then left. So you kind of have to control him in regards to where he's moving, right? And I was letting them know that that was like one of the things that they had to notice, that they do that little bit of a slide before they want to get into the other area, because you have to control them by pushing it a little bit with the thumbstick and then letting go, so that you can control them to go in the opposite direction. You couldn't just go left and right. You had to kind of like control it a little bit, but it was still fun to play at the end, right? Other than that though, they obviously provided with lunch and dinner. I don't need to say that. I just am, because the food was great, and they definitely, we weren't in the break room for a long time. We were there to work, and that's a really huge plus for me. The gameplays when they gave us on the first day, when they were different, they did feel different. It wasn't like, oh, this is all in your head. Like, I was showing them exactly the differences, and I felt like they really liked it, because at some point I was kind of like on the right side, because I didn't like every single game at some point, right? So I was on the right side, and then the guys, or the people that were in that room, I would just talk and they would just listen, and they'd be like, okay, that makes sense. So like, we see that, like this and that, and I'm just like, God is good, finally. And it wasn't like sugarcoating, like, oh, we're just gonna say yes to Inception because we're just gonna say yes to him, right? They were seeing it. I was showing them, I'm like, the way that they were running, the way they were transitioning left and right. I'm like, it wasn't there yet. And these were games that I either tied or won or lost by a little bit or whatever it is with my generic team, right? And they were like, so even with this team, you can tell a difference, because I was like, yeah, I had a full meta team, because I was telling Joel was like, even with the full meta team, you can still tell a difference with the gameplay. I'm like, yes, you can still tell with the way they're touching the ball, because a team of the year, Mbappe, and a Team of the Year Neymar, those guys are just going to move. But what they do is they compensate. I let them know this. These types of players, they compensate for the bad gameplay, but they shouldn't have to compensate. They should just be good, right? So that's in regards to inconsistent gameplay. They are looking into it, and we were testing out the different builds to see what would work best and whatnot. They asked me specific questions in regards to gameplay and what I thought about specific things. One of the things that they mentioned to me was time finishing and manual goalkeeping. And I told them from a general experience of a FIFA player that it's not a good thing to have in the games, because if you go in a 1v1 situation, you want it to be very simple. You want to just be able to finesse right or shoot to the left and not have to worry about having to time it. I've been told, because I didn't test FIFA 20 gameplay, I've been told that green timing a shot is more relevant for a far distance, but my brain kind of registers like, okay, if it's more relevant for a farther distance, right, and someone has to green time a finesse, which has a lower gap, it's not the same gap as it is nowadays, to actually have to green time it has a lower gap, but you also have manual goalkeeping where you can block those long shots and move to that side. I can see there being a balance. I told them straight up from my general experience, I absolutely despise of those two mechanics, right? But I only have so much control and so much power or whatever to what I can say of what they're going to do, because at the end of the day, there's certain things that they're going to just have in the game because they're going to have in the game. But next year with time finishing and manual goalkeeping, it's not going to work the same as FIFA 19, because FIFA 19 you could just move that goalie like this, right? But now they lock up, right? So they lock up before once you're taking that shot, that's it. GG's, that goalie's there. You can't just like move him right back, right? So that could work. I need to see how the game is first with the dribbling and all that type of stuff. And then, yeah, if they get locked and the shooting accuracy is good, because it didn't feel like I had to green time. Well, they said that it doesn't feel like you have to green time a shot from 1v1s, but I'll be the judge of that when I obviously get the game. I'm trying to think of anything else. I talked about the gameplay content balance, how it was awful this year. You guys know I use these exact words. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, like it wasn't very good. No, I'm told them like it was really bad. Having division rivals being set up the way it is when you're a 2400 plus player, foot drafts where you spend money to lose money, and then foot champs being on the side with a concept of 30 games, and then you have single matches with that. Also, I'm like, this whole balance was terrible, right? I don't know what their gameplay content, I was trying to get them to tell me what their gameplay content was like for FIFA 20, because I don't know what it is. And I'm sure that's why the NDA was signed for, was specifically for that stuff, but they didn't tell me anything for FIFA 20. In regards to the gameplay content, that's just stuff that we're all going to know when that time comes. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The content, I told them like what I think would be best. They were letting me know like what type of matchmaking do I think would work best for division rivals, and I told them like, listen, like if you're a division 1 player, right, or let's just say for instance you have a matchmaking of like 1900 plus, everyone faces each other, you know, it would cause a little bit more of a balance in the game, or 1800 plus, right? And the first thing that they asked me, and I think that this goes well with you guys in the community, is they asked me, oh, but what about you? What about the guys that will come up against these guys and get destroyed by them? And I told them, like, that's what happens in any video game you play, right? It's not like an 1800 guy is always going to face a 2600 dude. Like, he's going to face, most players are not above 2000, right? So most of the time you're going to be matching up with your general area in Division 1, or just a little bit lower than that, depending on the rating that you're in. If you're like 1800 or whatever, right? You're going to match around that general area most of the times, right? But will it be possible to match up against the higher ones? Absolutely. But in Fortnite, when someone's coming at me and they're going to destroy me, they destroy me. And I learn from the good player. It doesn't exist for FIFA 19. And I told them I don't like the way the game is set up. FIFA 19 skill is out there, you know what I'm saying? We look for FIFA 20 with that right now. But skilled wise, right? If I'm a 2450 player and I lose to an 1800 player and I lose all those skill points, it doesn't matter, because I'm still in Division 1, I'm still getting those rewards, and I'm facing an open matchmaking, right? There should be weekly rewards. There should also be like the daily rewards, where you, like I mentioned to them again, the whole thing with the World Cup format, the tournament format, not the actual World Cup being added into the game, but the tournament format of 3 qualifying games, and then you go through each of the rounds, right? I told them that format is good because you consistently get rewards every single day. You're building towards something, and then you would play division rivals on the side to get your weekly rewards, right? So stuff like that I was talking about as well. Jamie, I met Jamie, Foot Economist. What a guy, by the way. It's Joel, Zaro, and Bogdan. Fucking loved those guys. Really, really liked talking to them. But when I was talking to Jamie, Jamie's going to be the content guy next year, right? Foot Economist. And I was letting him know, I'm like, listen, brother, we're going to have a lot of talks in regards to the players they're going to be releasing. You have to take into consideration players that don't have cards at all, players that don't get the chemistry links in certain areas, right? So he let me know, he let Skillshack know, like, if we have certain like SBCs that kind of make sense and don't make sense, we're going to let him know. I did really push the narrative of like, listen, when you give good cards to players, give them good stamina and composure. I looked at Jamie, I'm like, Jamie, because me and Jamie were messing around. I was like, Jamie, you see this 72 composure on Sancho? No, my boy. No, you cannot have that, okay? Give him 84. It's a team of the season. Composure is one of the biggest things in your game, right? And then the fact that the 3-star weak foot, that's the last thing I'm going to bring up because this video is already really long. I don't know if you guys care about it being really long, but I just really liked my trip the last time because I actually got to work specifically on the inconsistent gameplay, which is a very big thing for me. If they do anything in the future, if they drop anything, whatever it is that they choose to do, I am going to be testing it during that time, but I'm still going to give my honest opinion. If it's still bad, I'll let them know, like, okay, this is the difference with this. This is my experience with playing it at home, blah, blah, blah. But the last thing that I brought up to them was there definitely needs to be more gameplay content in relation to SBCs and gameplay content in relation to the game. Whereas it's either about you leveling up your weak foot to maximum 4-star at the very least. It doesn't have to be a 5-star, but a maximum 4-star to make the player playable. Because I was mentioning to him how no one really uses Team of the Season Salah because he doesn't have that 4-star weak foot. But Mane, Firmino, people are going to use those cards because they have that, they fit that meta criteria. But there needs to be ways to level up a card to be able to give them that 4-star skill moves or the 4-star weak foot. With the Headliners card, with Carvajal and stuff, Carvajal would have been a really sick card to try to get through gameplay and then to level him up to get Team of the Season stats because obviously Carvajal was a type of player that, you know, the Headliners was cool for generic stuff, but it wasn't there for full meta, right? So stuff like that, I was throwing ideas on the mist in the general area in regards to what I think about the content of the game and how they should like produce the cards and what they should do for us to enjoy it gameplay wise, play it every single day, and actually progress while playing the gameplay and then transferring it over to the SBCs and having like a good balance between the two, right? So, and then I let them know about the skilled rating matchmaking, how it was absolutely terrible for FIFA 19 and how that needs to be adjusted next year. Again, I don't know how they did gameplay content for FIFA 20, but we'll see. I think that's pretty much it. I could do a part 2 if you guys have any questions in regards to what I did or didn't do and what I may or may not have talked about. Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below, so because I definitely forget about a few things when I'm really passionate and start talking about all these different things. So be sure to let me know down below what types of questions you guys have, and then I could make another video responding to any of the questions that you guys have in regards to what I'm allowed to say, which honestly is not really a lot. All the stuff that I said right now, I'm surprised I was even allowed to say it. They gave me the freedom of speech to be able to do it because this is how I am. If I wasn't able to do this, I would have just been like this. Like, I'm not going to no studio to not be able to talk about these specific things. But from my general experience, the first and second time were dog shit experiences, right? But the third time was really good. We actually worked on inconsistent gameplay. I was able to show them the differences. They were able to record those specific mechanics that happen when the gameplay is bad. I know I keep saying that, but that's like a really, really important thing for me. It's like the core of my existence, right? So I was very happy that I was able to do that. It was literally my initiative to go once they told me you're working on inconsistent gameplay. Not a mobile game, not a game that had delay, right? But a game that was solely focused on fixing inconsistent gameplay. Because you guys need to understand that for me as a content creator and for me as a player and for you guys and for the entirety of the FIFA community, if they fix inconsistent gameplay and they give you playable at the very minimum or good or great and higher, you'll enjoy the game more with good gameplay content. That's the type of game that we're fighting for. I complained all these years, and I'm happy that I did. A lot of people really like shut me down for this kind of stuff, but I'm happy that I stuck with it. It was mentally exhausting, but I'm happy now. I'm happy that they're looking into it. They're actually doing specific things to change it, right? So again, if they release anything in the future and it's not good, I will let them know. I'll continue to work with them and show them this isn't good, this is playable, blah, 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 right? So thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for the support you guys have shown me over the course of the years. This type of thing with me and inconsistent gameplay was not of a popular opinion over the course of the 5 years. But for those of you that did support me throughout all this time, I really do appreciate it. You guys will notice I'm talking really fast so I don't make the video too long. I don't think I really missed on anything else. I think I got everything else in regards to like inconsistent gameplay, finishing, and all that stuff, right? Like the 1v1 finishing, one thing I didn't mention before I got there. They wondered what I meant by compensation with the 1v1 finishing, and I told them 1v1 finishing needs to be the best way to score from good angles, because if you give the person that goal from a good angle in a 1v1, right? Like Pez's finishing is disgustingly good, right? When you got that angle and you scored. And I told him, like, if you have Pez finishing, you compensate for the deflections, the corners, or any of that type of stuff that happens in the game. Because it's football. That type of stuff is going to happen. But if you do break down the opposition, and I really stress you're in a good angle to shoot a good shot, that will be the best course of action. The 1v1s should be the easiest thing to do when you have that right angle. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. I do appreciate it. I don't think that I was like, oh yeah, I'm at EA, now I'm gonna be like a little shill. No, I was really lenient with them. I was really lenient. My computer just went off. I was really lenient with them in regards to the gameplay stuff, and I was just really prying them. Like I was really showing them the difference with everything. So I hope you guys believe me when I tell you that, because if it wasn't a good experience, I would have said it's not a good experience again. But it was definitely better this time. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace out, dudes. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below, okay? Love you guys.